Hi, my name is Tyler, and I'm conducting an interview with this person right here. Go ahead and would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Kathleen Jane Nichols. I go by Kay. Today's date is March 24, 2025, and I was born December 31st of 1936. That's more than 88 years ago.
Where were you born, and what was your childhood like?
I was born in Eureka, California, and then I moved to Trinidad by the ocean, just north of Eureka. And my childhood was a very happy one. It was a Christian family. We had neighbors who had children, and we used to race on the beaches, and we'd race up the gravel roads and go into the forest, the redwood trees, and the ferns. Um, so it was a very happy time. And I lived in that area until I was 6 years old.
What was your earliest memory?
Um, Probably when I was 4, my brother was born on my birthday, and we lived by the ocean. And I remember picking salmon berries and wild strawberries and going to the beach, mostly that area and the foliage. For some reason, it has always stayed with me.
Could you tell me more about your family growing up?
Well, I had one brother, 4 years younger, and then a sister who was 8 years younger than me. And we moved from Trinidad when I was 6 to an area in Fruitland that was about 60 miles south, where it was very remote. We didn't have electricity, had a very nice house and 40 acres. We had a cow. My dad milked that cow morning and night. My mother made cottage cheese, and she made butter with a churn. And we lived off the land. And my father, for some time, worked in the woods felling trees.
Wow. Did you have any traditions or special celebrations in your home?
Um, Christmas was always a very big occasion. And as we got older and children were added, families were added, and all, it always has been the biggest, the celebration of the birth of Christ.
What kind of student were you in school, and what subjects did you enjoy?
Well, I was an average or maybe a little above average, but I I started taking piano lessons when I was about in the fourth grade, and I studied piano all the way up into college. And I was a music major, so music was my life. I thought I was going to be a concert pianist, but then got married and still played the piano a lot for churches and vocalists and all, but gradually have given it up. But in school, music was the main subject that I was really good at.
Were there any teachers or mentors who had a big impact on you?
Oh, of course, my my father worked in the woods felling trees, but after a member of our family was killed by a widowmaker, he had a teaching degree, so he started teaching in this one room school, all 8 grades. And I would say he, in the beginning, had the biggest influence on me until I then went to high school, and Mr. Raymond Miller was my music teacher and taught me piano, and he was the biggest influence then regarding my career.
Can you share some of your fondest childhood memories?
Oh, I always remember back on the beach in Trinidad, running in the sand and uh, racing up the road we lived on with gravel, bare feet, racing with Ronnie, the neighbor boy, always beating him. He couldn't walk with his bare feet, but I could run on the rocks with bare feet. But and then times when I was living in Fruitland, my brother stayed home from school. I came home. He met me at the top of the hill and he said, "Oh, Mom's been baking. Just close your eyes and open your mouth, and I'll give you a treat." And of course, he put a worm in my mouth. I chased him all the way to the house. So I can remember things like that that we did and it was great fun.
Do you think it was difficult to become a concert pianist, or how come you weren't able to pursue that?
Well, I was accomplished. I was playing classical and all. Um, I, for me, memorization is always hard, but once I got into college and there were other subjects I had to take along with it, somehow I veered away and um, met this young man and ended up getting married, and that was the end of my musical career.
How did it feel to shift from pursuing piano to working in the travel business industry?
Well, um, pursuing piano would have been a huge challenge because you need dedication, you need contacts, you need to be out doing concerts, you have to feel a great dedication to practicing many, 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 many hours. And I didn't have that dedication. I didn't feel, as much as I enjoyed playing and as good as I was, I just didn't see how I could pursue being a concert pianist. Now, I accompanied people, so I still used my piano. Um, I accompanied vocalists. I played for different weddings. I played for churches. Um, so I was still using my piano, but I wasn't pursuing it as a career. I just didn't feel the dedication and I didn't have the finances to go further with it. So it wasn't a hard transition at all because I was still using piano while I was in the travel industry.
What was your first job and how did you feel about it?
My first job was in Garberville when we were living in Miranda when I was going to high school, and probably about my senior year. I went to Garberville and worked as a phone operator. And that was back when phones were operated a whole lot differently than we do now.
Mhm.
But that that was an interesting little diversion. But as a teenager, you need to get out and work a little bit. So that was it.
How did you decide on that career path?
Well, I ended up being with my five children in 1967, um, divorced, and my mother knew I always wanted to go to business college. So she watched the children. I went to business college in Eureka, the Humboldt Business College. And at the end, as I was graduating, I was offered a job at Eureka Travel Agency, and I worked 19 years there, and then moved to Sacramento and worked another 17. So I worked 36 years as a travel agent, and retired in 2001. And that was a wonderful career. Um, I traveled a lot and I saw a lot of things in the world.
What was the most impactful, impactful or amazing thing you saw while traveling
While
as
traveling,
as a travel man?
oh, I did a backpack over the Andes, and there were times, it was in February, it was the end of the rainy season, and there were times when the the rivers had overflown and we were caught in one of the rushing rivers, barely got off of it in one point. But probably when I came to the mount of and saw Machu Picchu, that was one of the most thrilling things, to just suddenly have accomplished this whole trip and then see Machu Picchu.
Was that a moment in your life that you were particularly proud of?
Well, when you can accomplish, I've never hiked before. I did a little bit of training before I left, but to be able to backpack the distance that we went over these mountains, on the sides of cliffs and you name it, it was pretty spectacular and it was a good accomplishment.
How has your view of the world changed over the years?
Well, I've your focus at different times in your life changes, and politics and how the world worked was not a great focus when I had children. And then even after they grew, I I had a life where I enjoyed playing golf and socializing, and not until in the last maybe 5, 10 years have I become interested in politics and the way things run, and I find that very fascinating.
Could you tell me about a tradition or cultural practice that is important to you?
Well, if this qualifies, I think it's really important to have faith and attend church, um, with other Christians, and it's part of our culture. But it's one of the most important things that we can live for is being a Christian, living for Christ, and so um, that's one of the most important things right now.
Um, how do you think um, living for Christ has changed over the years?
Well, I suppose that when you're younger, you don't start facing the end of your life. You think you're going to live forever. And at this point, I begin to think I have. But um, when you get older, some things become more important. And being kind, being a Christian, just reading the Bible, just being faithful, somehow has become more important than a lot of other things in life, where before it was socializing, being with, pursuing maybe a friendship and so on, a relationship. But now that these things are not so important, it's more important that my life, my heart is right.
What are your hopes and dreams for the future?
My goals?
Well, for your
Well,
family or
well, I'm just continuing to try to stay healthy, um, and live each day the best I can, because you never know when today might be your last day. So just make the most of each day. Tell your family you love them, and it's important to stay in touch with all of your family. And I have a wonderful family with loads of grandchildren and great grandchildren, and we're all in touch, which makes it wonderful for me.
Last question. Is there a story or lesson from your life that you want others to remember?
Oh, I don't know. I just don't know. I guess just remembering me as a good, loving grandma, and I've always tried to do the best for everybody else. So, and hope I haven't been too selfish, but there's nothing that really stands out to me.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you, Grandma. I appreciate the help, and I hope that my teacher appreciates your story. I'm sure she will.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.